Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's Macklin Gaming, and I'm here in my collection room, not in my proper studio today, but I will be back there for my future videos, so bear with me with this audio and lighting, which is not my usual setup, but I also have a video about my collection room on this channel if you want to check that out, detailing everything behind me that I've collected and around this room. But that is for another time because today we have crazy stuff to talk about. Last night was the Game Awards 2024. And it was like maybe the best Game Awards that they've ever done. I was kind of blown away. This was a show for me with all the reveals and all these RPGs, and some of my like old time favorites got trailers for like new installments, new games in the series. So I want to talk about all of that, and I just want to talk about the awards and who won every category, at least the categories I was interested in. It was a super long show. It was like 3 hours plus. So I'm not going to cover everything. I'm just going to cover all the topics that I really enjoyed from this show. So first of all, there was an opening show with like Sydney Goodman. It was good. It was fine. They did like best fighting game, went to Tekken 8. Cool. Nothing huge in that opening ceremony. But then Geoff Keighley comes out in this killer suit, like all black with this cool little like shiny diamond looking emblem. And man, I was like, damn, he's ready. He means business tonight. So, a lot of people hate on Geoff Keighley, but he's actually done a really good job with this show. And I'll get into that as we go over it because last year wasn't so good. But this year he comes out with some jokes about how, he was telling people to please wrap it up last year. And so he can, make fun of himself a little bit in his mistakes from last show and improve on that. And I think he gave all the developers who won much more time to speak, and it was like just really a great flow to the show, and I think he did a much better job while also like making fun of himself. So Geoff really seems like a good guy. Like it's easy to kind of like rip on him, but I actually kind of like him now. I think he did a good job tonight or last night with the show. So let's talk about what we saw right after he came out. There was like Harrison Ford and Troy Baker. We're talking about Indiana Jones. And they were announcing best performance, which went to the Hellblade 2 lady. I think her name's like Melinda Juergens. But then we get our first big trailer, for me, like the killer trailer that just started off the show like, oh, this is actually going to be good. I couldn't believe I saw this trailer from one of my favorite series. That is The Witcher. It was the Witcher 4 game. And Ciri is the main character. Like, who saw that coming? Pretty much everybody, if you played The Witcher 3. And I'm excited for that, super excited. The Unreal Engine 5 leap that they took, from Witcher 3 to this new engine, it looks incredible. I know it was really just cinematics that we saw in the trailer, but it was like very extended cinematics, and Ciri was fighting this huge monster. So it looked sick, and I just can't wait for that to come out. I think it said 2025, but hopefully it doesn't get delayed. I would love to play that next year. And then right after that, they show Elden Ring Night Reign. This is a standalone Elden Ring multiplayer game. Now, when I was watching the trailer, it looked a little bit quality-wise like a little step down from Elden Ring. I was like, is this an Elden Ring mobile game? Or is this like an Elden Ring MMO? And it almost was, It's more of a co-op, multiplayer, roguelike Elden Ring game. And apparently you can like beat it in one sitting with your friends if you can make it that far. It's like that kind of game, just a roguelike. I thought it looked good. It looked like Elden Ring, but graphically it looked a little bit of a step down in like the bosses and stuff. Maybe it was just the alpha build that they were developing this trailer with. It's not quite done. But this game is supposed to come out next year in 2025, so that'll be super exciting. And then they reveal the first big award, in my opinion, best action game. I believe I voted for Stellar Blade, but I am not surprised whatsoever that Black Myth Wukong won this category. And I'm very happy for them. I think, I would have picked Black Myth right below Stellar Blade, but I really enjoyed Stellar Blade. It was a killer game, but Black Myth definitely deserved to win at least one category at the Game Awards, which they did, and that is a great game. Brutal, really difficult. In the end, the developer of the game was like, my game's not difficult, so anyone can play it. He's just trying to get more people to buy into it, but It's a really hard game, but props to Black Myth Wukong for winning Best Action Game. So a little bit after that, they showed a new game from the Shadow of the Colossus and Ico and Last Guardian. Fumito Ueda, the creator of Shadow of the Colossus and all those games, he's making a new game, which they showed the character climbing up this mech. So I was like, oh, you know, it looks like Shadow of the Colossus, lots of climbing. But then it's like kind of futuristic looking, and there's like a giant mech. And it was really like a vague trailer, so I don't really know what this game is about, but it looks like a new setting for this team and, you know, also some of their same core gameplay mechanics. And I love everything that Fumito Ueda does, so I am looking forward to this game for sure. Then they showed off a Borderlands 4 trailer for the next Borderlands game. People are starting to really fall off the Borderlands train. It used to be a really fun and really hilarious series, you know, like Borderlands 2 was probably the peak. But after they made Tiny Tina's Wonderlands a few years ago, I think people are like, oh, this kind of sucks now. So Borderlands 4, it looked okay. And we just have to see if the game's actually going to turn out to be anything like vintage Borderlands. Then they hit us with the multiplayer of the year. Best multiplayer game of the year goes to Helldivers 2, which I was pretty excited about that. I actually never played it, but to see that game get so much hype and then it kind of like fell off and everyone was kind of like hating on it because of the updates they made. Well, it's still, you know, regarded as a really good game. Best multiplayer game of 2024. Congrats to Helldivers 2. Then the next category, they revealed the best art direction. Game of the year, best art direction, Metaphor ReFantazio. I totally see that. This category is not about the graphics, it's more about the art design, and they had the best menu screens and the best menu systems, like visually, and they had some really unique character races and very crazy looking demon bosses, like the human monsters, and the enemies you face were insane looking. So props to Metaphor. I absolutely love that game, and it definitely deserved to win Best Art Direction. Then we got a performance from 21 Pilots, who they're actually a pretty dope, like modern day band. You know, I want to call them a rock band, but they're a little bit like pop, electronic, but you know, definitely have roots in rock, alternative rock. So I'm a big fan of them. And they came out and they played Arcane Music, which is the League of Legends anime show. They played music from that and it was really good. Really like emotional. And what's the guy's name? Tyler, I think, the singer. He did a fantastic job. And at the end, they cut back to Jeff and he's holding the mic and he's like, that was beautiful. Jeff like was on the verge of tears at the end of 21 Pilots performance. I thought that was hilarious, but it was really good. I love to see like a huge name act at the Game Awards. That was awesome. Then they show off a new game being developed from Yakuza series. Like these developers, I'm currently playing Infinite Wealth because in my Black Friday sales video, I talked about how I bought Infinite Wealth for $25 and I'm playing it. It's goofy. It is so much fun. But this new Yakuza game, I don't know if it's actually in the Like a Dragon series. Like that's what they're calling it now, Like a Dragon. And it looks a lot more like edgy and badass. And I don't know if it's going to have the same like humor as the other Yakuza or Like a Dragon games. But this game looks really sick. And I'll definitely keep my eye out for that one. And of course, no Game Awards is complete without Kojima showing up, Jeff Keighley's best friend, Hideo Kojima. And he comes out with an even doper suit than Jeff. He has this like suede or velvet suit on, and it was like dark blue, and he looked like an absolute legend, you know, but he talked about Death Stranding 2, whatever. I was just distracted by how fancy his suit was looking. It was pretty sick. And then we got to see a couple of category announcements that started to show the trend of the night in which game was going to start taking home various awards and almost sweep the show. And it was a surprise to me. But best game direction goes to Astrobot. Astrobot game direction. I'm thinking direction, like directing, like almost cinematics, you know, not everything about game direction cinematics, but I was thinking Black Myth Wukong, best game direction, you know? But wow, Astrobot wins that. And what's up next after that? Best adventure game, best action adventure game goes to Astrobot. And Astrobot also won best family game like way earlier in the show. So that's already 3 awards for Astrobot. This little platformer team from Sony is starting to take home awards over these titans of, you know, Black Myth Wukong, Metaphor, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. So that was really intriguing, you know, but awesome. I love the game. Astrobot's super fun. It's for all ages. And I think it's just like an old school game modernized, right? Like a Mario game modernized. And we'll get to that more at the end here. But Astrobot winning these awards, good for them. I'm happy for them. Best adaptation. So best video game turned into like a TV show. Yes, it was Fallout who won. I was super excited because that was the best show. And like so many people got into Fallout who don't even play video games. And that's what you love to see from an adaptation like this. So well deserved to Fallout for winning that. Then we get the next big music performance, Snoop Dogg, and he comes out doing Gin and Juice. So funny. Like they keep cutting to the crowd and everyone is dancing and having a blast. Like all these game developers and like famous people in the audience are just going off with Snoop Dogg. So to have 21 Pilots and Snoop Dogg in the show was killer. I think Jeff did an awesome job and he's making friends all over the industry now into other industries like the music and Hollywood industry. So it's really fun to see that. Love Snoop Dogg. Then we got a trailer for Mafia: The Old Country. I've played one of the Mafia games and it was good. I really liked it, but I was blown away by this Old Country trailer. This is like deep in Sicily in the 1900s. This is like real Mafia stuff, you know, from its origins, and like the visuals of this game looked incredible. Mafia: The Old Country. I will definitely play that when it comes out. I'm a little bit Italian on my mom's side, actually a lot Italian. So, you know, I gotta go back to my roots and learn the lore and play this game, Mafia: The Old Country. Now we're getting here to the end, and here's another big category, Best Narrative Game. And the winner for that was Metaphor ReFantazio. Thank you. You know, Metaphor's winning these games. Oh, I also skipped over, Metaphor won Best RPG of the Year. So those are 2 huge awards from this game that I voted to be the #1 game of the year. Metaphor ReFantazio, Best RPG, Best Narrative. Good for them. I'm glad they're taking home some trophies tonight. Then we get the big reveal Jeff's going on, like one more thing. This is our big announcement. You know, there were a lot of big announcements, but this one ended the show before they announced the actual game of the year. This trailer was Naughty Dog's new game, Intergalactic. It looked interesting. I don't know if it's going to be something I super look forward to, but you know, obviously the quality is there from Naughty Dog, but they're like in space doing a sci-fi action game, something like that. You know, this chick had like a huge, like futuristic flaming sword or something. So I'll keep an eye on that game, but when I saw it, I wasn't like losing my mind. I was like, ooh, Naughty Dog, like, what are you doing here? But we'll see. Maybe it'll be a great new IP. And I don't think I mentioned this category either, but Best Soundtrack. I was so excited to check out who was going to win Best Soundtrack of the Year, Best Music. And it actually went to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is amazing because there were so many good games with soundtracks. Stellar Blade, Metaphor was in there. I mean, either of those 2 could have easily won. And then you get Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, killer soundtrack, you know, definitely deserved. I really wanted Stellar Blade to win. That would have been cool because that's such a unique soundtrack. But here we get the big epic orchestral, you know, version of the Final Fantasy VII music brought to the modern day in Rebirth. It was awesome, well deserved. And that led us into the orchestra that played at the end. It played various themes from all the Game of the Year nominees. So we heard music from Black Myth Wukong, Balatro, you know, Metaphor, Final Fantasy, Astrobot, and they played this medley, which I always love to hear that. And right when they stopped, you had the Baldur's Gate 3 guy who won last year's Game of the Year, and he reveals the Game of the Year for 2024. It's Astrobot. Incredible. This game feels like the little, underdog beats out these giant games like Black Myth Wukong and Metaphor and Final Fantasy. Like an incredible victory for this 3D platformer, Astrobot. And the developer comes out and he goes, I wasn't supposed to say this, but I got this little gray box when I was a kid and it came with Super Mario Bros. And ever since then, I knew who the platformer kings were. Like, he really shouted out Nintendo without actually saying their name. And he gave credit to the history of incredible platforming games that they were inspired by from Nintendo, saying, like, thank you, Nintendo, So I know a lot of people were, like, ripping on Astrobot a little bit because it's almost like a Mario game. They almost, like, stole from Mario. And this guy went up there and he was cool enough to even admit that in front of everyone, like, thank you, Nintendo, essentially, So that was really cool. I'm actually happy for Astrobot. I love that game, and it's cool to see that game win because maybe we'll get a trend of these kind of games coming out in the future. Like, not a huge 100-hour game that takes 10 years to make, even though I love those games. Maybe we'll get these nice little platformer games coming out from other studios. So that was a really fun Game Awards show, and it was just a feeling like I'm proud to be a gamer and play all these video games and be into the industry when, in years past, you were almost like made fun of or, looked down upon or frowned upon for being a gamer. So here we are in 2024 after an amazing Game Awards show, which I didn't expect to be so good, and I'm super happy about it. And those were all the big notable trailers and awards that I wanted to go over. If you guys have any other awards or trailers that I missed talking about that you were really excited for, leave them in the comments. Let me see what you're excited for. Hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.